But the recording itself didn't start until, like, I don't know, 45.
Whoa. Hold on.
Andy was a dumbass.
That's going to be the starting point.
Oh, great.
So slowly, down goes, down goes, down goes by, down goes by. So slowly, down goes by, so slowly, down goes by.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 18 of UGP, or Ultimate Gamer Podcast. This will have to be, I would say, the most populated episode. We have 4 people in total, counting myself. So we have Kevin.
Hey, everyone.
We have Andy, your favorite.
Hello.
And we have Perry.
Hello.
Now, Perry's never been on the show before, so Perry, introduce yourself.
Name's Perry. I have my own YouTube channel, Gamer Rant, and that pretty much sums it up right there.
Okay, so now Perry brought us an interesting topic to start us all off with, so go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yes, it was apparently this new information has come out for the whole Sandy Hook shooting tragedy, where apparently the killer had actually planned this out. They found some kind of PDF file or spreadsheet or something of that nature that depicted other school shootings and how he had it set up basically a game that he was, as if he was trying to get a higher score than these other people that have committed these crimes. And the majority of the articles that I've read almost really seem to be quite insulting within itself. They actually refer to these things as like a hit count, and to me that's like, well, all right, so now you're labeling these victims as if they were some kind of object within a video game, and I think that's the biggest crime, within itself, is something tragic happens, they find out new information, and all of a sudden this real life event is somehow now a real life video game.
Okay, so from a pragmatic point of view, we're talking about this quote-unquote new information that surfaced is, unlike previous Mad Men, this one was organized, set up, critically thought this entire process through, and that's the story. That's simply because he's able to, come up with an organized plan for whatever monstrosity he was going to do, that because of that, it means that all gamers are now that type of evil.
Awkward silence. Anyone?
No, I'm sorry. It's just that I get it. It was a horrible thing. I live nearby. I mean, everyone who's living in the tri-state area heard about it first. It was right here. I mean, I was even up in the middle of the night when it happened, when the news started to break. And the main thing is that, so they're trying to come up with this study that shows that because the guy had planned it out, and because it looks a lot like, a very methodical plan, which, let's face it, methodical planning and organization isn't something that's just from gamers. It's something that comes from anyone who has, worked on critical thinking, is pragmatic, someone who deals with logic. So what, are we going to start demonizing engineers and mathematicians and...
Dude,
I'm sorry,
what is it? The guy who shot up the movie theater. He was a engineer.
Yeah.
Very intelligent person.
And he had planned out, and he had set up a whole bunch of booby traps in his apartment, and yeah. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to point out that what is the real juice of this story. I mean, I don't know if you got it from Fox News, because if you got it from Fox News, then we already know what the hell they're trying to say. But if you got it from any other source that is trying to, once again, demonize video gaming or demonize video gaming culture in any way, I'm sorry, but it's just that every Dick and Jane can just say video game is evil and then release that information as though it were a new study. We're not talking about video gaming culture. We're not talking about video gamers. We're not talking about anything of that. We're just talking about people who are sick and twisted. And just because they're intelligent, which, let's face it, usually sick and twisted people are intelligent. Take me, for example. Yeah. If they're going to do it, no matter how many weapons you have or how many weapons you don't have, is ever going to stop a person that is capable and willing of doing something horrible. The only thing that can stop them is, finding better social avenues to care for the people that are mentally deranged to this point. I mean, they were talking about seeing warning signs beforehand. A warning sign for a psychopath isn't that he plays Modern Warfare 3. A warning sign for a psychopath is he does psychopathic things. Talking about harming, either animals or other children or their own parents or, I'm sorry, it's just that whenever, and this won't be the first time and it won't be the last time that someone's going to come up with newly found information saying that the person responsible for this event or that event was doing this beforehand, so let's start demonizing these people because A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. I'm sorry, that argument, it doesn't work in law and it shouldn't work in the way people view media.
Yeah, but everyone wants something to kick and blame. It's a witch hunt.
Well, yeah, it's a natural recourse, and we're all going to do it. But, I mean, you would think that as a species as old as we are, we would have evolved by that point. But then, now that I hear myself saying that, yeah, no, I completely agree. We need someone to blame because, obviously, we're just too stupid to reason anything out.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. Well, another thing that a lot of these, news articles do and whatnot is they actually take the actual focus away from, the actual person that committed the crime. I always look at like all these senators and politicians that have been showing up ever since this tragedy took place and saying, "Oh, we need to change our entertainment laws. We need to create a sin tax for violent video games." Is that they're not actually focusing on the problem at hand. They're basically incensed, giving the killer a defense in saying that it wasn't the killer's fault that he did this. He did this because of this form of entertainment. And to me, within itself, when you look at the concept of, a politician or a senator, regardless of whether it's, lawful or anything of that nature, is that, it just doesn't really actually fit the context of what it's actually meant to do. It kind of actually completely deteriorates what the actual story should be about instead of actually trying to make these excuses and actually come to the defense of the actual serial killer within itself.
I don't say this much, but I completely agree with your point of view.
It's a very met his match.
No, he makes a perfect point. This isn't about trying to make the world a better place. This isn't about saving lives. It's about creating a scapegoat and using it for whatever aims or such for special interests. At this point, let's face it, no more than 6 months ago, anyone who was with the NRA was considered a politician that could, have any freaking, zone in Middle America, in the southern regions of America, in the East Coast. But now, as we saw with the recent Philadelphia elections, being with the NRA is now completely turned around. It's now become a negative for a politician. See, we've evolved in that trend and understood that, yes, one causes the other, and maybe we shouldn't try to connect the dots with that. But still, when it happens with the media, it's just, this is one of the millions of reasons why people should stop watching, nightly news or whatever, your local media. Why? Because it is nothing but trash. People come up with these stories specifically to rile up the brainless, masses that just are begging to know what they should think. And when something like this happens, and when politicians or public characters use it in order to move whatever personal vendetta they have, if we really wanted to solve this issue, we would have banned guns. Period. We would have found another amendment and fucking stop the fucking Second Amendment. Now, I already got enough hate mail for my joke last time, so I'm expecting avidly new hate mail in my inbox this time. But yes, the Second Amendment existed in a country and in a time and in a place where literally the entirety of America was Alabama. Just think Alabama copy-pasted to the entirety of the United States. You bet your ass you needed a gun. Nowadays, we've evolved beyond that. We're the single most powerful force on the face of the earth and in history. We can wipe out entire countries simply when we, don't feel that they are working towards our benefit. We control global politics as much as we like to seem like the, weak and small, unwanted child of Europe. It's to think that in a country like this, where you can walk out on the street, not have to worry about getting mugged, getting raped, or killed in the middle of broad daylight, go to a store and pick out one of a dozen different types of milk that are available and come back home and buy it at a cheap price and not have to worry about coming back home to a house on fire or a mugged house every single minute of every single day, unless you live in Harlem or in Upper Manhattan, which, by the way, totally agree. But since we live in a country like that, we have absolutely no reason to have guns. Unless, you either have a small penis and you can't afford a car, or, you have a small penis and you can't afford anything else to take out your disagreement on.
Hey, my gun is almost as long as I am.
Now, am I saying that all gun owners have small penises? No. But most of them do. So it's just a statistical basis.
Well, my problem with the media, and we got to quickly transition this from a political podcast back to video games, but it's a profit deal. If you think about it, it's like with any video game website or what have you. If you write an article that is just completely stupid, you're going to attract everybody in a raging fit, to the point where you're going to make money. You make money by being popular. What's more popular than spewing bullshit?
And this is where we get to the dichotomy of the thing. I'm not spouting my personal beliefs in order to make controversy. This is what I actually believe. I'm not trying to incite rage. I just know rage comes.
True. That's because everyone's opinionated.
Exactly.
Everyone has to say that they're right and you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the society we live in.
And thankfully, I don't hold public office, and I'm not that important, so I can say whatever the fuck I want. But the people that are saying these things, people in media, politicians and such, and even people in gaming culture that are trying to defend their bases, or worse yet, not saying anything at all. These are the people that should be talking about it. These are the people that should express and stand by their own personal views, whether they be dipshits or not.
Hey, I fully defend video games because it doesn't require a rocket scientist to figure out that video games do not twist and torment the mind and create killers. They just create better killars.
You know what I tell people?
What?
You can actually use math to disprove any fucking study that has come out, because math will show you an actual number of how retarded those studies are.
Most likely. Now, the problem is that everyone says video games are this, video games are that, because they're the scapegoat of our generation. Previous generations were books. That's why you had book burnings in Nazi Germany. That's why you even had book burnings and still have book burnings here in the United States.
Now we have video game burnings.
No, we don't even have video game burnings, because let's face it, what is there to burn? And these people are just out of ideas. If it's not this, it's going to be another form of media in the future that they're going to say is the reason for everything else. Why? Because previous generations are unwilling or just physically incapable, mentally incapable of appreciating or taking part in a new form of media. Just like when music was thought to be, the form of the devil or whatever, simply because people just wanted to listen to gospel music since it was the only thing that they understood at the time. Unfortunately, thankfully, we're living in an age where the generational gap of ignorance to acceptance ratio is less and less, because more generations are trying to push themselves to be up to date. Since today, every single person who is in a fucking first-tier country needs to, if not own a computer, know how to operate a computer, because everything is done by technology, which wasn't the case before, where everyone needed a television. No. It was like one television per household, and that's only if you were rich. And then before that, it was a radio. And then before that, it was, houses who could afford books. And before that, it was houses that were close enough to the church in order to, Media consumption will always occur. The different types of media consumption will change over time. Their acceptance is what denotes the capability of a society in the time that the media is out. If we can look past the fact that Video games are violent simply because that's what attracts us. We're hunter-gatherers. We're a species that became the dominant species on the planet because we mauled, killed, fucked, and ate everything that was in our way. And we're still doing it, and we're always going to do it. Why? Because we may be backwards as fuck in our worst, but at our best, we are devious and unstoppable force of nature.
Just out of here's a question,
What?
though. Are you going to do it in that exact order?
Well, it depends. You can't fuck a steak and then cook it. That's just wrong. I mean, if you cook it, then it's nice and warm, and you know, it all depends on your preface of steak fucking and such. So, I apologize for the brutality of my statements. It's just that I have to drive the point home. We're a horrible species. We should accept it. We should embrace that horror. That's why our video games are violent. That's why our movies are violent. That's why our music, though majority of it nowadays is shit, but that's why our music is, you know, violent. It's auditory. It's, you know, we want something that hits us, something we can feel. That's why books were violent. That's why if you read the classics, heck, even if you read something like the Bible, no offense to anyone, any person of faith, but if you look at the Bible from an objective point of view, it is a raunchy, incestual sex novel with a shit ton of apocalyptic scenarios. There's killing, there's maiming, there's fratricide, there's incest, there's everything. Like everything we could possibly come up with to have fun in this world is in the Bible.
Have fun.
And I don't mean
That's your
that-
definition?
No. That's not my definition. That's what a pragmatist person like myself who doesn't hold any belief looks at when they read something like the Bible or like the Torah or the Quran. Or it's beautiful poetry, but when you look at it from, you know, at face value, you're talking about tales and such that are just, and it's not just the Bible. We're talking about classics like Paradise Lost. All of these are just violent as fuck because the true nature of humanity is violent. So to go away and run away and say that video games shouldn't be violent is to say that music shouldn't be too loud or that television shouldn't be too interesting or that movies should be, you know, well, not movies.
Well, think about it this way. I know we were joking about it before, but Demolition Man. You know, you say it's a horrible
Yeah.
movie, but think about the premise behind it. You know, a society completely controlled and removed of all violence, negativity, and, you know, everything that, as you said, fun in the world, you know, living in a society like that.
Hey, sin is in. That's what we're, you know, that's what humanity's about. But yeah, you make a perfect point. That horrible alternate reality future in Demolition Man is the type of place that these people who consistently say video games are violent, music is violent, movies are violent, are the people that are not taking responsibility for being good parents, good teachers, and good community leaders. They're the people that want to throw the responsibility of making sure their children are treated if they have a mental illness or learn what's right and wrong before you teach them, you know, the wonders of killing with video games. They just don't want to handle the responsibility. In any case, the entire situation was the fault of the mother. What kind of person needs that many guns living in that area of the country and having them easily accessible to the kid who has a history of mental illness?
And she trained him. Don't forget that. She trained him on every
Now-
fucking weapon.
Now, this is the dichotomy of my personal view. I don't know if anyone shares this. It's better to be trained at something than to be ignorant to it. So when it comes to training a kid to guns, I can understand the logic of it. And I can understand that it's better that they know and understand and respect whatever it is that you're trying to teach them. But when a kid has a history of mental problems, when people around him do not feel safe, because let's face it, a kid can get away with anything, just like a woman can get away with anything. I mean, we can just look back at the whole dongle incident that happened a few days ago. So people like this can get away with anything. That's why people are nervous. And when that happens, you need to understand that putting the gun next to a child and then closing the door in the house, 9 out of 10 times that child is going to shoot something, and 5 of those 10 times it's going to be himself. It's a pure law of statistics. So when you have guns and you have a troubled kid, shit is going to happen. It's your own responsibility to either not have the guns easily accessible or not have the guns at all. Why? Because do you really need an assault rifle when you're living in the fucking suburbs?
No, you don't need it.
I mean, I get it. If it's a hobby, that's great. Keep it some fucking place else.
Huh.
It's a matter of pragmatism, for Pete's sakes. I mean, and at the end of the day, we're all third parties. We can't put the blame on anyone because we're not, we don't know every single detail of the story. We're just opinionated fucks on the internet talking on a podcast that you're listening to right now, fellow viewer. But when it comes down to it, we may not be able to place the blame, but, the mother is placing the blame on herself. And she's going to have to live with it the rest of her life because...
She's dead.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. What am I talking about? I'm thinking about the other one. Yeah. I'm thinking about two different gun shootings.
She's going to have to live with this for the rest of her life. She was the first one that was killed.
No, I'm talking about the other one. But yes, you're right. I'm talking about the families of the people that have the incident in Aurora, and I'm talking about the previous... There are too many shootings, and I apologize for that, but there are too many shootings to keep track of, and that's unfortunately the world that we live in today.
True.
And as we record this podcast, most likely in a couple of weeks, you will hear about another shooting, and another a week after that, and another after that.
Well, there was one recently. The guy, he killed his parents, and then he blamed it on video games. He says the video games made me do it.
That's the insanity plea. Right now, because it's popular and it's a view that's shared by the public, every single lawyer worth their salt is going to tell you to take the insanity plea so you don't get the chair and, blame video games.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a guy in what was it? I think somewhere in the UK where apparently he went on some kind of he had raped 3 women and he finally got caught. And when they questioned him, he said he was just reenacting scenes that he saw in the video game Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, my God. It's the easiest form of insanity.
And so people use these as their scapegoats, and they can do this because other people make it that form of a scapegoat.
Well, they'll eat that shit up and say, yeah, it's better to say that video games are a problem and not that this gentleman or this person or whatever is mentally fucking twisted. If you guys want us to do a technology podcast for cutting-edge random stuff, post it in the comments, and I will happily, actually do work for it.
Good. Okay, so now we're going to switch gears. EA CEO John Ricotello steps down.
I think you should actually take the last 2 things and choose one of them and put it in the beginning of the episode and use the other one for the other episode, because we just wasted a good, I don't know how many hours just going on 2 things that, let's face it, gamers don't give a shit about unless they're, very opinionated like us.
So what I'll do is I'll edit it out. I'll just move one of them for next week's episode. I'll just sneak it in.
Yeah, just leave this part. Yes, folks, we talked about something that is probably going to bring a lot of hate, but you needed to hear it. So, yeah.
So join us next week for that.
Yeah, and more poo flinging. Fling the poo.
Okay, so what do you guys have to say about John Ricotello? I mean, the first thing I thought of was hallelujah.
I don't know.
Because the guy was very hypocritical. He starts out his CEO career by saying how he thinks video games are overpriced, how he thinks the market is just fucking us all over, and then he just turns around and does everything he said he was going to fight against.
It's called politics. He's supposed to say what we want to hear. But yeah, you're right. And, well, I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, but he is the guy who's getting the short end of the stick on this when they're booting him to put the entire, weight of EA's continual faceted failure onto. I mean, we're going to touch upon the whole DRM-free sim thing that they found, which, by the way, I found that article the day you posted up the last episode I was on. So this has been brewing with me for a week now. But yeah. Something like that. How can a CEO let something like that happen? Especially when everyone, from Maxis to EA representatives, have been consistently saying something like that is not possible. What I'm talking about is that you can play SimCity without it having to be online. But yeah, when you have an entire program of telling people, hey, yeah, no, it has to be online because that's the only way it was built, yada, 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 believe in the word of EA. I mean, he dug his own grave trying to pull the wool over the eyes of a gaming culture, especially a culture full of hackers and modders and coders and other developers.
Just remember, if you think you're smart, there's 18 people that are smarter than you.
Absolutely true. And then you could take those 18 and square them, and that's people that are just slightly smarter than you. And it just gets exponential from there.
So when you make a claim or a statement, You bet your ass you're going to be put to the test.
I mean, that was irresponsible on his end, but he doesn't deserve. No one human deserves the amount of hatred that EA deserves. So he shouldn't be put on the pedestal of the one douchebag to rule them all. By the way, you guys read the message from John Ricotello that they posted up on EA?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to show you, and I'm going to quote one line that I loved, just to show you precisely how bad EA has been doing. The only thing that they could name as something that was a plus for consumers on the wide range of is, you are number one, quote, you are number one in the fastest growing segment, mobile, with incredible games like Simpsons, Tapped Out, Real Racing 3, Bejeweled, Scrabble, and Plants vs. Zombies, end quote. What the fuck? You're telling me that a AAA publisher, you know, the company that has been the juggernaut of the entire market, has chewed up and spit out, destroyed in countless civilizations, i.e. other, you know, small studios and companies. And you're telling me the one thing that you could take away from your time there is you got mobile gaming up? Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve the hate, but he does deserve the boot. And also this Larry Probst, who's going to be stepping in and holding his chair until they find a new CEO. I don't know.
You know, I never even knew who this John Ricotello was until I saw his ignorant opening speech at E3 2012.
I know what speech you're talking about. Oh, man.
Is that the one where he says the game you used to buy was the one you was like the one you owned or something like that? And he said that as if it was a bad thing.
Yeah, the game that you bought was the game that you got.
Yeah.
Nowadays, developers go on creating new content that extends the life and the experience of the game. So basically,
Really?
he's saying that
You don't say.
he basically says that the new accessories that you can get with games now are the greatest thing since fucking gravy on mashed potatoes.
Well, gravy on mashed potatoes is pretty good. What? I credit where credit is due. He makes a point, but yeah, it's pretty funny that is supposedly what is the most incredible thing about video gaming as of yet, according to him, the CEO of the most evil gaming corporation there is.
Hey, you know the PlayStation 4 is going to have
Here's
a credit card
question for
reader.
you.
Really? You know, I would be
Here's a question
surprised
for
if they
you.
have an RFID scanner just to.
Go ahead, Perry.
So, all right. Would you say in this modern generation of gaming, would you consider video games to be an art form or a product?
Depends. I can't give you a straight answer, and I don't think either
It's
John.
it's not an easy answer. That's why.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's an art form when you think of things like Zelda, where it's part of you. You know, that's where I consider art. Is that it's something that you can take with you and memorize. You know, like it becomes a memory to you.
Ocarina of Time, man.
Yes.
Like every single gamer it was a part of our generation before or after by a few years, Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, but then you
Whether
look at
you liked
games.
Whether you liked it or whether you hated it, you remember it. That's the thing.
True.
And that's art. It's supposed to be something that you remember, something,
It has a
like you said,
culture.
sticks with you.
All right. Well, then, here, maybe, let's see. Let's try this. All right.
But then you get to
See,
something like
my
Madden,
fundamental thinking
and
on
that's
it-
a product.
Sports in general
My
is a
fundamental
product.
thinking on the subject. My fundamental thinking on the subject is that games in this generation, if they contain any kind of accessory, be it downloadable content, microtransactions, online pass, paid dislike content, then it's a product because that's how they're marketing the game as a product, even though technically they would be considered a product. But I'm sure people understand what I'm attempting to convey here is that, you know, art within itself really shouldn't have accessories to make the art complete.
Well, can art also be a product as well? Or is there like a definition now that I don't know of that if it's art, it's art. If it's a product, it's a product? Because, well, let's face it, any piece of art is technically a product as well. A Van Gogh is worth a few millions, or a piece of, of recorded music is worth this amount of dollars on recorded media.
Unless it's, manufactured shit.
Well, that's the thing. To ask whether video games are art or a product is the same thing to ask whether music is an art or a product.
Well, no,
or a movie
I
is an
guess,
art and a product.
I guess what would go through my head is if you look at Zelda is inspired and is built from the ground up to be an art form. Whereas you'll look at games like Madden, where, to them it's just an advertising platform. It's something that you pay $60
Modern
a year.
Warfare. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm saying is that they're not built to be art. They don't have a like the developers don't put their heart and soul in it.
That's not to say that piece of product doesn't hold some form of art. I mean, with the incredible complexity that games are coming out nowadays, even something like as shitty and stupid, and yes, if you like this game, I'm sorry, but go out and play football. Video games are supposed to be giving the people the ability to live and do and create and such in worlds where the laws of reality don't apply.
Hey, you had the same debate 3 years ago.
Yeah, I did. Actually, this is kind of a flashback now.
It is. It's like deja vu.
Anyway, that's beyond the point. What I'm trying to say is that just because it's a product doesn't mean it can't be artful. But just because it's art doesn't mean it can't be a product. And we're no longer in the day and age where a piece of art is only done by someone who's one in a million. No, we just have a lot more education out. And, that one in a million person who could do art, who could do something that sticks with you, something that is expressing their point of view and allows them to share with the world is now 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 100. Because, well, let's face it, the forms of media are changing. So, what is considered art? That totally depends on you. I could say that The Legend of Zelda, which Ocarina of Time was like pivotal for me. That is a game that no matter what game I play today, I always remember. But Madden could share that same, feeling with somebody else who, likes that type of game, and it could be art for them. Everything is art, no matter whether we give it, prudence or not. Everything is art because whatever we're talking about, it's a creation that somebody made. Like, it came out of someone's head and through sheer will created it. They brought it into reality. They brought it into being. So, if it's a product, it all depends on how well it sells. If it's an art form, it all depends on how many people actually liked it, remember it, and how many years later people are still talking about it. Will people talk about Madden 2012 and 2016? Highly doubtful. They'll probably be talking about Madden 2016. About 2040, Madden 2040. Will they still be talking about Zelda? You bet your ass they will. That, Majora's Mask. Twilight Princess, not as much as I would have liked, even though it was a great game. Skyward Sword, meh.
I love Majora's Mask. There's, it has its cult following. It's kind of like the people that like Invader Zim. It's such a darker.
I'm one of those as well.
Okay.
That was the greatest thing of Majora's Mask because when I remember reading Nintendo Power Magazine. You guys remember Nintendo Power Magazine?
Oh, fuck yeah.
That was like the lifeblood of gaming culture. Before Nintendo Power Magazine, there really wasn't a magazine for gaming culture. And Nintendo was God. Nintendo was the almighty hand of the Lord that giveth and taketh away. But, and from there, just when they were talking about Majora's Mask, said, oh my god, you only have 3 days? Oh my god, it has a timer? Holy shit. I remember one night playing Majora's Mask, I was having a panic attack because I could not finish the fucking water temple, and I had less than like a few hours before, I had 1 or 2 hours, which in real game time is 10-15 minutes, 1 or 2 hours to finish the level, beat the boss, and get to Clock Town, and fucking stop the I couldn't. I fucking couldn't. And it's just it's a video game, but you're sweating, you're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. You consistently start thinking about your own mortality. When a game can make you sweat bullets, that's an experience.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, I did have somewhat of a similar experience with the first Silent Hill, where I
That's
was, I'm in the first time it transitions to the other world, and you're in the schoolhouse. That entire part is just
Oh, I remember that.
you have the feeling of dread. You dread going into the next room because you know that there's going to be something in there.
It's liquid dread running up and down your spine. That's
Exactly.
that right.
Exactly. That game, like, it's one of the scariest games I've ever played. Not including mods of like other games. Because believe me, I can list them up like mods that are pretty fucking scary.
You should play SCP Containment. You would love it.
All I had to do was play 5 minutes of SCP-87, and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done with this.
There's a new one, a Russian one called Corridor. That is a singular experience.
See, I like to see someone do an SCP game that has to deal with that game show one. Remember the game show that was in the studio?
Oh yeah.
I would love to see a game based off of that.
You know, you could probably go to the SCP website that they're making that game, and they could probably throw it in because they're throwing random SCPs every now and then. 087 is one, but it's a spin-off of the main SCP game. They got there. It's an incredible thing that it's not so much the indie community, but now the actual user community, where people are making games not to make money, but simply because they can. That's just awesome. Back on Ricotello. That douchebag deserved it. He doesn't deserve the hate, but he deserves the boot, and good riddance to bad rubbish.
Okay, next topic. We're going to start shooting these out really damn fast.
Yeah.
Nice.
Went on way too long.
Yes, we did. My fault. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is coming out on the 24th.
Yay!
You sound disappointed.
Well, it's Nintendo. I'm sorry, but I haven't not been disappointed since fucking Dolphin. And you all, if you know what Dolphin was, then you know what I'm talking about. If not, somebody else is going to have to explain it to you because...
Okay.
You mean the code name for the GameCube?
Yeah. I still call it the Dolphin. I'll always call it the Dolphin.
Well, it was purple.
And bulging.
Alright,
But
good
yeah.
initial reviews, though, for Dark Moon. Picking that up.
Good initial reviews? I'm sorry, I gotta stop you right there. The majority of the reviews that I've read are simply passable, and it is a mobile port for another game.
Okay. Moving on.
Yeah, it doesn't give you the options of changing your control scheme. It doesn't let you change the tilt option. It doesn't let you take away the freaking touchy screen apparatus. I'm sorry, no. It's basically them. Yeah, I am saying it before and I'm saying it again. Sega syndrome, my friend. It's like Alzheimer's.
I don't think so because when it came to Sega, not only were they putting out consoles and thinking people would buy it, but they were still supporting older hardware. I mean, they were just about to release the Sega Saturn.
I'm not saying that Nintendo's going to go
and they were
under.
still supporting the Master System.
Of course they were. They had a
still
hard time. Dude, they were still selling Dreamcast up until like 2008, 2009. They stopped making Dreamcast 2008, 2009, yet they were still selling and still making games for the Dreamcast. So it's not that it was a complete failure on Sega's part. It's just that the problem with Nintendo is that they have not made a console that would be the primary console of a house since Nintendo 64. And I'm sorry, as much of a Nintendo fanboy, whether here or whether in the comments, I don't fucking care how much hate mail you guys send me. Nintendo has not made a primary console for a household since Nintendo 64. Why? The GameCube, big disappointment, although it was incredible hardware for the time. The Wii, huge letdown. I don't care who the hell you are. if you are a modern day gamer, it was a huge letdown. You still got it. You still got it for Twilight Princess. You still got it for a bunch of other games that, hold true to your Nintendo roots. But it was a huge disappointment. And I was a Nintendo fanboy. Operative word being was. Now this. I'm sorry, but the Nintendo Wii U will make sales. It didn't do great sales, and I don't care how much anyone who is on another website or has sent me, hate mail can state that they fudged the numbers in order to. No. They didn't sell. Deal with it. They're going to sell over time simply because people still buy Nintendo because people still buy Nintendo. But they're no longer the primary console. They're not the one console you're always going to turn on. You're going to turn on your Xbox or your PlayStation before you turn on a Nintendo, and that's why they're suffering from Sega syndrome. They could have the greatest game selection in the next couple of months. It won't matter because they had a 6-month period in the beginning of 2013 where no one has any information about PlayStation, no information about Microsoft, no information or any other clues about any of the other indie consoles that are coming out. It was all nothing but Nintendo. And what did they do? They came out with the Wii U. And what happened? Wet firecracker. The entire 6-month period, 2 quarters, they had all to themselves, and all they could do was a whimper. So yes, this may be the last Nintendo system we'll ever see. Will it be the last Nintendo games? No. But they'll have to start hiring out to other companies and start making things like Zelda and Mario not so Nintendo exclusive.
The only thing that really irritates me about the Wii and the Wii U is how just about every game uses the motion controller or the new tablet pad. Now, granted, I'm sure there'd be people that would argue that there would be people that would argue, well, that's the main function, but I don't really see how they couldn't create a regular game that doesn't utilize any of those special accessories and just play an actual regular Mario game or something like that. Or other type of Zelda game, et cetera, et cetera, et
It
cetera.
reminds me of the DS for the what do you call it? Mario 64 for the DS. Every time you had to save, you couldn't use the D-pad to select what option you wanted to save. You had to pull out the fucking stick and touch it. Every time.
Yep.
And I thought it was things like that are just maddening and stupid.
I actually recently bought a Nintendo DS game. It was some RPG. I can't remember it. Magical something or fucking other like that. And I put it in and I start playing it, and everything was done through the touchpad, even moving the character around. It irritated me. I ended up giving it away because, I mean, I think there's a fine line between, occasionally using a benefit or a feature and then overdoing it.
He's got a point.
Because don't get me wrong, Super Mario Galaxy series, I find them entertaining, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't like to play, just a regular classic platform Mario game without the whole motion control, or Metroid, or etc.
My biggest pet peeve of Zelda Skyward Sword was the fact that everything was motion. You had to swing.
I haven't been to play Skyward Sword. I've only seen playthroughs and read the story and such. So I'm basing it entirely on my opinion of the story, which, well, let's face it, it's not something that is well known for story, but it is something that captures you. But yeah, if the entire game is based purely on motion controls, there's a way to do things, and then there's a way to do things. Having nothing but motion controls and not being able to switch them or switch the setup of buttons or being able to turn off tilt and just have the controller and touchscreen. How can that at all be worthwhile to try to play a game that is going to make you pissed off just trying to control the game?
That's true, and I mean, I did enjoy it in certain respects. I did enjoy Skyward Sword's controls, but at the same token, I do wish I had the ability and option to turn it all off. I mean, when you were aiming a crossbow, I mean, it definitely helped that you had the motion controls. It just gave you that pinpoint accuracy. But, I didn't want to have to keep on constantly swinging my arm around to cut things.
Well, 16-bit, what do you think? Come on.
Defend your title.
It's not defending title. I'd like to know his point of view because the man is 10 times more Nintendo than I will ever be.
I mean, whether or not they're dying or not, or what?
What do you think about what we're saying? I mean, we're saying that Nintendo is digging itself into a corner, or painting itself into a corner simply because it not only doesn't let players change the control scheme or be a little bit more flexible, but they're forcing their quote-unquote innovations on their first-party titles and not letting third parties through, et cetera, et cetera. Do you really think that everything that Nintendo is doing is in Nintendo's benefit, or that they may be,
I don't know.
kicking the bucket?
Because I mean, Nintendo has. I would say that they were a lot. How do I say this? I think. You know what? No
Man
comment.
is lost for words. That
No,
is
You know what?
ours.
I'm not real. Sorry, I'm going back and forth between the podcast and reading a very interesting article. So, I've been doing that for the entire podcast.
Why?
I don't know.
think that's something you want to say.
I know. I just really haven't been paying attention.
I'm not a professional or anything, but bad form, Peter. Bad form.
I know.
Yes, I just made a hook reference to those who got it.
Yes, I got it. Dustin Hoffman.
Moving on then.
Yes. Was the final... Oh, this one's specifically for Andy.
Oh my God, eat a dick, dude.
Look at her emotions, Andy. Look at them. Aren't they fantastic? No QuickTime events on Beyond Two Souls.
Whoop-de-fucking-do. Is that really a piece of news that we are taking into account?
Yes.
Who
Yes,
gives a flying fuck? And I'd like to state for the record that when I say flying fuck, I flap my arms a little in order to enunciate the fact of flying fuck. So what? They're not doing something with a video game. Have you guys seen the real-time playthrough of the demo? It looks like an interesting concept. I'm not going to say it's the greatest game because I don't know. I haven't played it. If they're not doing QuickTime events, okay, good for them. QuickTime events are fucking annoying.
Yes,
Well-
so it's newsworthy.
It seems we're not going to be able to press X to Jason, so.
Yeah. God, eat a dick.
It's a little sore spot that we like to poke.
No, my one sore spot is, gentlemen, if you go back to the previous video of the unboxing, when our friend here put in his new video card, that you just had to make the joke. I even
Yes.
said in the comments, you just had to make the joke.
Yes. And he met Ellen Page.
Oh, God. I don't hate her, but what the fuck?
Well, Andy, how many emotions is people?
You know what? Eat it, okay? I got a great idea, a great place you could shove all your emotions.
Does that have to do anything with the brick that you said that he had very
Yes,
colorful
it
ideas?
has. You know what? They share a possible, timeline when we're talking about fourth dimensionally. They could be shoved in the same exact space and time as to where the brick should be.
Okay, fine, since you're so sore.
I'm not sore. I'm annoyed. This isn't news.
Okay, then this is. Playing video games improves visual skills. I can attest to that, and I can say it definitely helped me.
Yes, the University of Toronto. Go Toronto. So what? We've known this for years. I mean, I agree it's important for us to have a scientific finding that officially states it for the record, but, what? Are they then going to say that because this proves that it means that they're better killers? This is how it's going to be spread because this is how it always happens. You will see in 2 or 3 days to less than a week, this thing is going to pop up on Fox News or MSNBC or any other fucking news cycle that's specific to the United States and say, recent finding shows that video games train people to be better killers. And that's what you're going to get. That's all you're going to get out of this finding. And I read through the article, and it's interesting what they're talking about in Scientist Daily.
Awkward silence.
Hello.
Well,
hello.
articles have already been saying that for years.
Exactly. But I figured it's something we could touch on.
Yeah.
No,
It's
I'm
official
talking
now.
about what Luke mentioned. Lucas.
Lucas!
Well, Lucas, Andy, Artie, it all depends on who you know me from. But yeah, it's the same guy. Which, by the way, another thing I need to talk about, people who were sending me There was a point where I was getting hate mail that was supposed to go to you, John.
Really?
Let's make it clear for everyone in the podcast. I'm the guy with the icon that shows the laughing man caricature from Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
I've used that same complex.
And they're making a new one, but unfortunately, they're making another season of it. But unfortunately, it's a huge departure, and it may not be the same storyline. Well, we won't get into it. I know. We won't get into that because it hurts.
Anime podcast.
But, yeah, I'm the guy with the laughing man. So when I say something, I don't speak for John, but also I'm not John. So if you have any horrible things to say to him, please say it to him because they just make me laugh. You're just wasting your time and providing me with entertainment. So I think that's the opposite of what you guys wanted.
True.
How could you fuck that up? I mean, you watch this on his username, so how could you fuck that up?
Well, you know YouTube. They just changed the layout, so maybe they got confused.
Well, what do you expect? It's the usual putrid fucking cunts and mongoloids that are willing to put themselves out on YouTube just to troll. They're looking for affirmation. Okay, you got your affirmation. Congratulations. You made me giggle like a schoolgirl.
A Japanese schoolgirl?
Yes. Japanese schoolgirl with the fervor of a German fat kid in a chocolate cake factory. If
Don't
they're
you
actually
mean Willy Wonka?
You know what? In the Willy Wonka movie, you never actually see him eat anything except for the cup in the original movie.
Augustus Gloop? No, he eats other shit.
No, not Gloop. Willy Wonka.
Yeah, he only eats the
The
cup.
original.
Yeah,
the original one. The Johnny Depp one doesn't exist because that's just fucked up. But yeah, the original
Piece of
one
shit.
with like the original one. You never see him eat anything else except the cup. I don't know. I'm just remembering that now for some reason.
Yes.
Maybe because he spiked the chocolate with something. Dun, dun, dun!
A little bit of cyanide.
No. Probably, date rape. You know how Willy Wonka shared a lot of,
Well,
Press
remember,
motions.
well, if you remember who they originally cast as Willy Wonka in the Tim Burton version.
Who? Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
That would have been awesome.
Okay, I don't know if you're joking or if that's real. Either way.
I
it's
heard
hilarious.
a rumor about that like years ago.
Because it's the kind of rumor that might have been true. That's the horrible part of it.
It's horrible, but you also want to say it would
It's
have been
not hard to
awesome to
believe.
see it. It would have been awesome to see it.
Yes, and the horrible tales of what ensued behind stage. Yeah.
And little did they know what happened to the children after they toured his magical factory.
Yeah. None of them walked right for weeks. Except the girls. The girls were safe. And there goes your golf clap moment of the podcast. Moving on.
I think that's about it. I think we can close it up because we've talked.
Well, hey,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
one last thing. What do you guys think about Electronic Assholes' announcement of their digital games that they're going to give to the poor saps that pre-ordered SimCity and it didn't work?
You know what? From a public
Because they
standpoint-
have them listed. You get Battlefield 3, Bejeweled 3, Dead Space 3, Mass Effect 3, Medal of Honor, or one of the Medal of Honor games, Need for Speed Most Wanted, Plant vs. Zombies, and SimCity 4 Deluxe Edition. Which
One,
is
from a
exactly
public
what I
standpoint-
said in one of my
Yeah.
rant videos, that they were going to give away games that people already had or didn't give a
Yep.
shit about.
Yep. You hit the nail on the head on that one. And from a public standpoint, it's the best thing that they could have possibly done. And you have to agree with them. At least they're quote unquote taking responsibility. But yeah, there's not much you can do with
And
the
then I'll-
level of fuckery that comes with this.
I was watching another YouTuber who actually mentioned that Dead Space 3 they knew automatically that was going to be on there because it has microtransactions. So if they gave that away for free, there'd be some fucking retard that would actually buy the microtransactions, which would ultimately eventually mean that Electronic Arts would get their money anyway for giving it away for free.
As much as we hate microtransactions, they are the unfortunate future of gaming, whether we like it or not.
No, but it can be done right. For instance, League of Legends.
Yeah.
It's free to play, but you become willing to pay because it's so much fun. Except
Yeah.
for Kevin, he just never liked it.
No, nowadays for MMOs and for new games and multiplayer games, they're going to have to do the free-to-play microtransaction model because, well, the average gamer doesn't share the same income bracket as the people who are willing to buy the games consistently. I mean,
Well, if the games
on
weren't
average,
$60 a piece, I probably would have bought a lot more.
and the games are going to still be $60 a piece, whether we like it or not, because, well, they got away with it, and they're going to keep that as the median for how much money they can get away with. Now, there's also if you go on the counter of, you have to understand the amount of loss that companies get, the amount of payment they have to do for this and that. You know what? Whatever. That's your side of the story. Our side is from the consumer side. As much to the defense of developers and such that I usually come to, because I'm like the one from the group that actually, is not full 100% in hatred of developers here. But it's just, I don't know. $60 a game, now $70 to $80 a game. They're pushing their luck. They're not, like we stated before in the previous podcast, we're not going to have a crash like the 1980s. But we're also, this is also not the best thing to do with EA now that it's changing the guard, or with any other corporation right now, since, a lot of video gamers are kind of pissed off, especially with something like SimCity. And this is how they're taking care of it. I mean, for Christ's sakes, a fucking hacker in, what was it, Australia? Or he was in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Takes one day out of his time and figures out, hey, you could turn on developer mode. And then from developer mode, play the game better than you would if you played it online.
Yep. You were able to
And
customize your cities, do whatever the hell you wanted.
And the games that they're giving out, precisely like you said, they're simply the kind of games that people are going to force themselves to use microtransactions on. So no matter what they do, they're just looking for every possible way to make money off of this. But from a publicity standpoint, it's the best thing. Because then you're always going to have that group of gamers who have a hole in the head and think, oh, hey, they care about the gamers.
If they actually cared, they would have offered refunds.
Yeah. They would have let you keep the game and offered refunds.
Or at least give you $60 credit towards the use of a future game that they make.
That would have been even better. But right now, it's one of these games that you probably already own. It's only for this time. And it's only for this time limit. And beyond that, you know what? We're not responsible anymore.
True. Are we all in agreement that this is about it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
We've got just a little recap. We talked about video game violence. New report showing killing was just a game to win. Andy definitely said his statement on that. Then
I'm always going to say my statement on that. I'm the one guy who doesn't shut up.
No shit, you don't shut up. You
love every second of it.
You broke the record from last week where, you were 75%. Now you're 80%.
You loved every second of it.
Oh, no, I did like your little touches on feminist frequency. Definitely liked it. When you said, get back in the kitchen.
Hey, if I'm going to burn in hell, I prefer to deserve it. So
You earned it.
that's my point of view.
Then we quickly moved on to John Ricotello, our video games art, or is it a product? Then we talked about SimCity, right? No.
Sort.
No, we talked about Emotions, Luigi's Mansion, QuickTime Events, Beyond Two Souls, and playing video games improves visual skills. Then we transitioned back to SimCity. Was this one clusterfuck of an episode or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time, can we stick to the script?
Okay.
Yeah, John, don't pull a fast one on us.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It was great that we delved on, we were going to have to delve on, violence in video games and the misconstructions of, but, just, we all have opinions and we're all going to explode. We're like a big man grenade. You drop into the fortress of the bad guy. We're just crazy enough to actually work, but stick to the script next time.
I promise we'll do that. So take care, guys. Look out for future videos and podcast episodes. So where can we reach you guys?
platypus.
You said that last week.
And? What, I can't say it this week? You
No.
anti-platypus bastard.
All right.
You
Well-
speciesist? But
Okay.
yes, where can we reach you guys? Barry?
Oh, you can reach me at GamerRant1. That's my YouTube username.
Cool.
And we got the Kevin here, who we're trying to get, or as you knew him before, I am 16-bit, try to get his channel up. So leave some encouraging comments and see if we could get this guy to get his channel up again.
Hey, I've had
for anyone-
personal
and
messages for that one.
And you can find me at nowhere.
And if anyone asks for me to start my own channel, you can, shove it.
He will start his own channel. Little does he know he will.
Great.
All right.
But yes, remember, I'm the guy with the laughing man, so not John. Although I still love the hate mail, so please do send that.
Who doesn't love hate mail?
Just makes your day.
Seriously, I read it off to my friends. It's just a chuckle fest, one right after the other. Especially when you sound it out how like they type it, because unfortunately, no one seems to have autocorrect.
Oh,
True.
God, that's...
Or at least nobody has any grammar skills whatsoever.
It's like reading one of those like Japanese translations that didn't go too well. Like, it wasn't one of those direct translations. It was one of those translations that they did in Turkish and then they did it in English, and you just can't help but giggle.
Says the guy who does a pretty mean Japanese impersonation.
You bring a great shame to family. Disgruntled.
How about those
sepulchre.
guys that... How about those guys that correct people on their grammar when their own grammar can't fucking even go in any way, shape, or form?
There's nothing else you could do but say Zig Heil to those special people.
It's spelt stupid, stupid. Well, you just misspelt it.
My God, we must be really bored.
Yes, we are. And I just ended this. That's it. We're done.
Oh, thank God.
Congratulations, we're all going to hell.